Okay, so I have some Yankees news and some Yankees ideas that I want to share with you. Before I do it, if you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, make sure you do that right now and hit the notification so that you'll be filled in the entire offseason, all the way into the season and through the season. If anything pops up, news, breaking news, you're going to know about it from this channel. No matter what it is, free agency, trades, collective bargaining agreement, whatever it is, coaching, this, that, anything Yankee world, you're going to know about it. So now with that, let's get to the pieces of news first, okay? Yankees signed a right-handed relief pitcher, Vinny Natoli. Low-key move, could act as relief pitching depth, bullpen depth. He did have a small stint with the Seattle Mariners in the major leagues, but he's had a strong career in the minors, particularly the last 2 years. So you never know. The Yankees, tend to do a good job at bringing over the low-key relievers here, like they did with Clay Holmes in the trade, and he turned into a superstar reliever here. So he might find something here. Matt Blake might be able to do something with him. We'll see. We'll see. That's one. Secondly, some coaching. The coaching carousel. Luis Rojas, former manager for the New York Mets, has not yet agreed, but it sounds as if he's going to take the Yankees job for third base coach. That's not confirmed yet, but all signs are pointing in that direction. Again, remember, he comes from elite blood, okay? The Alou family. Moises Alou, his brother's cousin, Felipe Alou's dad, this is an elite baseball family. He's a good baseball mind. Speaking of good baseball minds, the Yankees also reached out to Eric Chavez, former star player from the Oakland Athletics. He also played with the Yankees for another coaching position as well. So again, smart baseball guy. Okay, knows the game, and he's one of these guys that right off the bat the way he carries himself would eventually be a good coach. And I like these moves if they happen to pan out. I mean, especially the Latin connection too, the Dominican players and Dominican bloodline with Rojas, and being able to connect with more Latin players on the team. I think it's a good thing because the Yankees really haven't had that many. But those folks, working directly with the coach. They had Carlos Mendoza on the bench, but having guys like this who could actually, be out on the field helping a little bit more would be a good thing too. So if they both come on here, totally happy with it. Totally happy with it. Third piece of news, Justin Verlander. This is a two-part news. Justin Verlander did a 25-pitch showcase at the Yankees facility for about 15 to 20 scouts. The Yankees obviously were there, so were the Mets, so were a bunch of other teams. But the second piece of news, well, before I get to it, he was between 94 and 97 miles an hour for the whole entire thing. So, and he threw his entire arsenal, all speed, off-speed stuff and everything. So, and he looked good. Now, we'll see how he recovers, but he looked good. So, there's a chance, he might get some interest, from teams. And speaking of interest, the Yankees have already had preliminary discussions with him in terms of bringing him to the Bronx. Now, nothing's verified or confirmed yet or whatnot, but the Yankees have already had discussions with him after the showcase. So it shows that they're interested. Now, keep in mind, too, he does come with a qualifying offer, that's attached to him, so they will have to forfeit a draft pick and surrender international prospect money. But if he's healthy and, if they can get him on a 1 or 2 year deal, it might turn into be gold. Plus, of his impact on Garrett Cole. He had a tremendous impact on Cole when they were in Houston, and I think he can come here and push Cole as well, and I think he would have a tremendous impact on him, and as well as some of the other pitchers in their rotation, too. So, and even the bullpen. This guy's a first ballot Hall of Famer, no doubt about it, so that type of, player is going to bode well here. Now, I know there's concerns about sticky stuff and blah, blah, but we don't really know that stuff yet. I mean, and Cole fared well after a couple of games to adjust after sticky stuff. But that's besides the point. This is Justin Verlander. So, even though he's 39, and I'll say this, he's not the only piece that they need. They need another starter. So, in my opinion, need two. So, but if he's one of them, okay. Instead of paying $150 million on Robbie Ray, who's had one good year, even though his high strikeout rates, you go at the Hall of Famer for 1 or 2 years for a hell of a lot less money. So that's just my opinion. But now I want to talk about value, money versus or quality versus quantity. Okay, now I like superstars just as much as the next person does, but a superstar plays one position at one time. They cannot play multiple positions. So $300 million for a Carlos Correa or $300 million for Corey Seager. Okay, it's nice to have one of the superstars here, and if they get him, fine. I'm happy with it, but it cannot come at the expense of filling other positions. So I want to give you some ideas here. Okay, and just keep in mind too, a $300 million addition or extension to Aaron Judge doesn't address the other holes either. So The Yankees have multiple holes, and they've acknowledged that. So what if instead of giving $300 million to one of these guys, we do one of these things? I have 4 scenarios here. Scenario 1, instead of spending $300 on one of these guys, we bring in Trevor Story and Chris Bryant. Story can be the athletic shortstop. He is very athletic and defensively gifted shortstop who can move over to second base with his athletic profile. And then you have Chris Bryant, who can play third. He can play first. He can play outfield. He's got versatility. Plus, he's a superstar and a former MVP. So, and let's just say you get Story for 125 and you get Bryant for 150. Add it up, that's still going to be less than one Carlos Correa is going to cost. Okay? And it'll be for less years. So, just a thought. Scenario 2, what if, again, instead of $300 for one of these guys, we go at Eddie Rosario for the outfield, either Marcus Semien or Javi Baez for shortstop, and Carlos Rodon. Okay? Now, before I go into it, Baez does not come with a qualifying offer because he was acquired at the trade deadline. Semien does come with a qualifying offer, so that's a decision that the Yankees obviously are going to have to make as well. But let's just say you get Eddie Rosario for 2 years, $20 million. Okay, 10 per year. You get Semien or Baez, let's just say $100 million, whatever. It might cost more for Semien though, but let's just say $25 million a year. Okay, and Rodon, 5 years, $80 million. Okay, or whatever, $90 million. Add it up, it's still a hell of a lot less than Seager alone is going to cost, or Correa is going to cost. And now you've addressed them. You addressed outfield, which they're thin at now because they moved on from 3 speedy athletic outfielders, so leaves depth is an issue now. Okay, so you got an outfield guy, you got a shortstop, and a pitcher to add into the rotation. And could you imagine if they brought Rodon and Verlander in? Not a bad two to go behind Garrett Cole. And Rodon does not have a qualifying offer attached to him, so he's only going to cost cash. Okay, scenario 3. What if they get Starling Marte, Eddie Rosario, and Andrew Chafin? Okay, you get 2 outfielders, one of which, Starling Marte is a star outfielder. He leads the major leagues in stolen bases. He's a good contact hitter with power. He's a clutch player too, and he's a great defensive outfielder. And again, Eddie Rosario, great base runner, great defensive outfielder. He's got speed. He's a good contact hitter from the left-handed side, which addresses that need for the Yankees too. Plus, he's shown that he can be clutch in big situations, like he did in the playoffs. He's from the world champion Atlanta Braves. And then you get Andrew Chafin, who's an elite left-handed reliever, and he spent some time with the Cubs and A's this year. But look at his ERA, just under 1.8. So, and you put another reliable left-handed reliever in that bullpen to replace somebody like Zach Britton. It gives the bullpen a little bit more depth, and gives another weapon for Matt Blake to utilize. So, and let's just say $100 million for Marte, $20 million again for Rosario, and let's say 3 years, $18 million for Chafin. It's a fraction of what one of those guys is going to cost, and you're filling several holes. And lastly, scenario 4, what if instead of giving $150 million to somebody like Robbie Ray, you get Marcus Stroman and Anthony DeSclafani in, 2 starters, neither of which are going to require draft picks or international compensation. Stroman did get a qualifying offer, but he accepted it and played on it this past year. You can't get a second one, okay? And DeSclafani did not get a QO, so they're both going to just cost cash. And, Stroman's, again, he's not a number 1, but he's a solid 2 or 3, and he's durable, and he's shown to be, pretty solid pitcher. And DeSclafani, relatively average, but he had a pretty solid year this year, so you might want to capitalize on it. But neither one of them is going to break the bank. Okay, and then you add somebody on the back end like a Kevin Pillar, who can play multiple positions. He's versatile. He's also a tough-ass player. He's a gamer, and he's got that quality that the Yankees need here. Some of that fiery player. This guy got hit in the face. He had like a busted face. He came back the next day. That's a gamer, man. That's a gamer. And again, getting 2 starting pitchers and a multi-positional player here. Again, addressing multiple areas without having to give one superstar a boatload of money. So, again, if they get a superstar, totally fine. But if they can address 2, 3, 4 positions and then leave room to maybe make a big trade with the A's, not a bad idea, guys. Let's get into it.